welcome back to another video. This really popped when I saw it. That to me is a monster increase. Again, this book got hot. This book is ready to go higher. So let's jump right into it. We are back today with another statue review from Diamond Select Toys. Without further ado, let's get into the review. What is going on, YouTube? This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and thank you for joining me for another Hot 10 breakdown of the week. If you guys aren't familiar with this video, I take the 10 hottest comics according to the Key Collector app, and I break them down for you guys, letting you know which I'd be buying, and of course which I'd be staying away from. With that said, guys, if you're not a current subscriber of the channel, I want you to do me a favor, hit that sub button for me, smash that like button. If you're interested in merch, I always got you covered. Check out the links below. With that said, let's get into this week's breakdown. Starting off the list this week is one of my favorite books. At number 10, it is a copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 50 and the first appearance of the Kingpin, this classic cover by John Romita Sr. and the classic storyline Spider-Man No More. You guys know I call this book the trifecta. Either way, a CGC 8.0 just sold last week for $2,800, up 8% over the average. Then we had a CGC 5.0 sale of $850, up only 2% over the average. You guys know this is one of my favorite Silver Age Marvel keys. I absolutely love it and would buy it no matter what. Just keep in mind, at this point, I do not think it's an investment book, just an awesome book I want to own. So to each his own. Back on the list at number 9 this week is a copy of Brave and the Bold number 57 and the first appearance and origin of Metamorpho in a CGC 8.0 just sold last week for $599, up 9% over the average. Then we had a CGC 5.0 sale of $230, up 10% over the average. I always tell you guys this, I'm not a huge fan of silver DC keys. They don't get a lot of credit and they really don't go up in value too often. However, this is the type of character I can see James Gunn going to in the new DCU. With that said, it's still a to each his own book. I'm not a buyer of it, but for you, like I said, you may want to own it. At number 8 and back on the list again is a copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 78 and the first appearance of the original Prowler, Hobie Brown. And we just had a CGC 9.4 sell last week for a whopping $1,350, up 5% over the average. Then we had a CGC 8.5 sale of $550, up a crazy 25% over the average. People out there must think he's going to appear in the next Spider-Man 4 movie. That's the only thing I think of with this book, up 25% in mid-grade. Either way, I'm going to tell you, I bought my copy for around $60 about a year and a half ago. That's really what I'm willing to spend on this key. I don't want to spend any more than that. But for you, if you want to go high grade or you want to go something that's a lot more expensive, just be very careful. At number 7 is one of the biggest Bronze Age keys of all time. It is a copy of Giant Size X-Men number 1 and the first appearance of the new X-Men team, Storm, Nightcrawler, Colossus, Thunderbird, and Wolverine. And we just had a CGC 9.2 sell last week for a whopping $6,079, up 5% over the average. Then we had a CGC 8.5 sale of $4,000, but only up 2% over that average. You guys know this book has absolutely gotten crushed over the past year and a half, but I think now it's time, if you're a long-term holder, you may want to think about picking up this book. It's a classic and one of the best from the Bronze Age. If you're a long-term 20-plus year holder, I'm giving it my blessing. If not, I'd be staying away. At the 6th spot is another Silver Age key. It is a copy of Iron Man number 1 and the first ongoing series featuring Iron Man and his origin. And we just had a CGC 8.0 sell last week for $1,430, but only up again 2% over that average. We also had a CGC 5.0 sale of $575, up again only 3% over that average. You guys know I love this book. It's one of my most favorite books and I'm always willing to buy because it's always so undervalued whenever I go to show or my LCS or wherever you find it. With that said, I know I've covered this book in length on GPA. If you check out the mid grades, they really haven't moved much over the past 3 years. Hasn't gone down much and hasn't gone up much. Regardless, I like stable books and I'm always willing to buy this book at the right price. Back at number 5 this week is a copy of Uncanny X-Men number 130 and the first appearance of the Dazzler. This is also the second appearance of Kitty Pryde and Emma Frost. There's a rumor out there, of course, that Taylor Swift is going to be playing this character in Deadpool 3, but I have a hunch that she may be playing Lady Deadpool. We'll see. Either way, a CGC 9.6 sold last week for $599, up an insane 40% over the average. Then we had a CGC 9.2 sale of $316, up again another 25% over the average. Man, this book is hot. On and off the list for the past month or so. Regardless, what happens if she doesn't take on that role of the Dazzler? Is this book going to crash? That is why I'm staying away from it. But with that said, if you're a big X-Men fan, you probably want to own it. But I'm only willing to spend maybe $100 to $150 to have it in the collection. Coming in at number 4 and still going strong is a copy of Star Wars number 1 and the first appearance of our favorite OG Star Wars characters, minus a few. And we just had a CGC 9.6 sell last week for $1,375, up a whopping 46% over the average. We also had a CGC 8.5 sale of $411, up again another 41% over the average. Man, this book is hot. Was there some news out there about the original OG Star Wars characters? Why is this book so hot right now? Either way, I always say this is not an investment book in my opinion, but if you're a big Star Wars fan, you definitely got to own it. Spend what's right for you to add it to the collection. Other than that, I'd be staying away. Oh boy, at number 3 is a copy of Wolverine number 1 and the first appearance of Wolverine in his own solo title, and of course this iconic cover by Frank Miller. And we just had a CGC 9.6 sell last week for $698, up 45% over the average. But don't forget, we were having $730, $740 sales in a 9.8 at one point. We also had a CGC 9.6 sale of $310, up 17% over the average. Really, guys, this book has been on the list all of the year except for maybe a few weeks. If you haven't owned this book by now, I do not know what to tell you. At these prices, I just can't do it. I remember when you could pick up a decent copy for around $100. Now a decent one is going for around $300. I'd be staying away at these prices considering this book is really expensive and can be found anywhere. Coming in at number 2 this week is a copy of Incredible Hulk number 340 in this iconic cover by the Todd father, Todd McFarlane. And we just had a CGC 9.4 sale last week for only $272, up 13% over the average. Then we had a CGC 9.0 sale of only $210, up again another 9% over the average. You guys know I absolutely love this cover, one of the best that Todd has ever done. However, this book has been printed to death and there are a ton of copies out there. I'm okay spending around $200 to have a copy in my collection, but again, I would really love to own a 9.8, just not a reholder 9.8 for all of you out there in the community who know what I'm talking about. Regardless, if you want this book in your collection, I'm not going to stop you. It is a great cover by Todd. Other than that, I wouldn't be spending crazy amount of money to buy this one here right now. And finally, at the top spot for the second week in a row is a copy of Godzilla number 1 with the first ongoing Godzilla series published for the US market. And we just had a CGC 9.8 sell last week for $422, up only 2% over the average. Remember last week when this book sold at a 9.8 for $550? It's already coming down. I don't understand why it's at the top spot. Regardless, I'm not buying this book right here right now. Even in a 9.8 for under $500, I just don't think it's worth it. That's the list this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, some of the same books reappearing on this list for the better part of the year. A few new ones in there sprinkled in. Regardless, it is now time for my best buy of the week, and I'm going with Amazing Spider-Man number 50 over Giant Size X-Men 1. Silver always trumps bronze, and when you have a classic cover, an iconic storyline, and a first appearance all in the same book, I don't care if it's an investment book or not, I absolutely love this book, and I'm always buying it. This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles saying thank you for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon.